Well, welcome to Destination Freedom. I'm Christopher Gronsky. I'm glad you're here, and I'm very excited for the things we're going to go over tonight. At the end of our time with our guest, we'll talk about what's not happening on our Destination Freedom website and some of the things coming up. But um, but I have some exciting things that we're going to talk about. Tonight's topic is about fear, anxiety. People dealing with their government or IRS or their state with respect to taxes or any of these things that uh, people are uncomfortable with and bothered with. Um, on this particular call, we're going to talk about people's attitudes, how they can deal with some of that, how they're looking at these processes. It should be a joy on some level because otherwise you're going to be miserable. Because I don't know that government is going to become a kinder, gentler um, uh, government. So our guest tonight that we're going to bring on in just a second here is we're using our we're going to keep her anonymous and not going to make reference to her name and or where she lives, but hopefully it'll work out that we can talk specifically about why she's in this space, why she came in and is a part of Destination Freedom. So um, without any further ado, let's welcome our guest. And let's see. And so, see, we have it all set up. There you go. And how are you this evening? I'll I'll call you our mystery guest with Destination Freedom. Thanks so much
Yeah,
for coming on. Um,
yeah.
a little background, not about you, but when did you come into and find out about Destination Freedom? You don't have to get into some of your backstory. We'll talk about that. But when was that that you found out about Destination Freedom and how?
It must have been about February of 2024, I'd say. So
Okay,
fairly recently.
right. Um, it's been just a little over a year, or maybe coming on about a year and 6 months. We're moving in
Year
that
and a half.
direction. Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Well, it seems like we've been through quite a bit in some of these processes. Um, Now you came on as I remember you came up to New Hampshire and did our class live right here at the office, didn't you?
In person. Yep.
That's right. You and your
I needed
husband.
to make sure you were real.
Fair enough. That's great. So you came into our new office. That was fun, and we got to know each other, and that's always good. So how was that? Um, a meeting in person, all that was it what you were expecting? Was it weird or uncomfortable? How was that for
No,
you?
it was fantastic. We had a great time. My husband and I drove up and we spent kind of made a mini little vacation out of it, and we got to meet you and your lovely wife, and it was a beautiful experience, and it was just I think it was guided.
Hmm,
It was intention. It was we were supposed to be there.
that's cool. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about clients that come into the state is we really like to hook up, do dinner. It's for me, it's a joy to meet people who have those same commitments in moving into these spaces of unplugging from the federal matrix and things like that. So I find it an honor to do that. And we had some other people that were part of that class as well. So you got to meet some other people. I think
Which was
one,
nice.
yeah, one client came up from Connecticut, and the one gal, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she may have come from Pennsylvania. And then she came back for our last live class that we have. Every year we try to do a live class after PorkFest. Um, so um, so that was nice. And yeah, well, I remember we did that. So you did the class, and then we did what we would call that passport workshop. So we prepared your documents and I find instead of doing like the workshop where we tell you how to do your documents. It's really just much easier for me just to, um, rather than to just tell you how to do them, is just to do them and get them prepared so that they're right. So that ends up working out much better that way. Um,
Yeah, that was good. I liked that because we were able to not. back and forth and make any mistakes, and you
Yeah.
just took care of it. So
That's cool. And and again, we'll get into some of your backstory in a bit, but so let's just talk about that passport process. So we prepared your documents. So if I remember, did you take them home with you, the documents with you to do them there, or did you do them up here in New Hampshire?
no, we had to get back, so we brought the documents with us, and then I think you helped us actually schedule the appointment,
Yeah.
and
And so
then
how was that at the post office? How did that go for you?
yeah,
Was
we were very nervous, to be
Mhm.
honest, but once we went in, and because you prepared us, we knew what to say. We knew to tell the um, receiving agent that these are correct and true, and this is how it needs to be done, because we both had passports, I think, that were expired, and so
Yeah.
we were not renewing them. We had to do a whole new process, and they didn't like that. But the woman that was trying to help us kind of was like, "Well, I'm going to have to get my supervisor to deal with this. I have a appointment out of the office, so I don't
Hmm.
have time for you." So we got passed to the senior lady there, which she was great, and she was like, okay, well, we can do it this way, sure."
Yeah.
But the funny thing was the woman that passed us off stayed around the whole time while we were there. So
Yeah.
she really didn't have any place to go. She just didn't want to. She didn't know what she was doing.
And although that doesn't happen all the time, but that is not that's not unheard of. That people feel those ways. They're uncomfortable. We have people trying to make it in, and I'm just saying no to it. Well, it's the same code, so that's all. They're coming wanting to come in there. So there's it doesn't send out a new one. It's the same thing. It's the same code. Yeah, these may be their old clients. Yeah, so they're usually on the night before um, we'll do live um, client calls, and so there's some clients that might be wanting to come in on the calls. So I don't know where they got that code from. Only our clients have that code. So, but anyway, we'll beat them up later. So, but anyway, I'll just keep. If Matt can hear us, so we'll just tell him that he's not going to come in. Let me see if I can. I don't know. After a while, it's okay. No, no, it's okay. It's all good. It's all. It works fine. I don't mind clicking them off. It's not a problem. It's a technical thing that we're doing here. There's no extra different code. It's the same code all the time. I've already checked. Anyway, I checked it. It wasn't that way, but anyway, it'll be all right. So yeah, the post office. Um, Usually, when people come up to New Hampshire, we'll go to our post office that's nearby, and those ladies in there, they know me, and we've joked a lot, and we've had a number of clients come in, so they're very aware that we do things differently, and they also know that people get their passports, and it's not a problem. What I usually say to people is that the postal person is not approving your passport. They're not an issuing agent. They don't have that training. They only are an acceptance agent, and they have a limited responsibility. And so, but they're just people. And so they too are like, they may be uncomfortable, and so they may be doing, they may not want to make a mistake and things like that. So that's really common. So we're sensitive that people feel that way, but the bottom line is, that's not um, it's can you see them when they come in? Yeah, you can click them off. That's good. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. My producer's working hard to help us. So it's always good. So anyway, so but they're just issuing agents. I'm sorry, they're just acceptance agents. They should be very accepting, and we want them to do that. So what I usually tell them is that if the State Department has any issue with your passport, they are very capable and able um, to reach out and deny passport or ask for more information or say this and that, and they do, and we've seen that communication. So it isn't, your communication doesn't come from the post office. They really are not trained based in what their actual responsibility they are. Most of the time, when you're dealing with the human condition, you're dealing with people that don't know. People are not uh, very smart about things. They tumble along, and a lot of times people need to be handheld, and they don't. And I know I deal with the human condition, They don't read, and if they do read, they lack comprehension, and so all that's going on. And so because the government knows that, they have their acceptance agents read things over and do things more than they really should. They should just button up, take the things they have, and send it off to the State Department. So, but again, people are working from a place that they don't like that. So how long, once you submitted your passport, how long was it that you actually got the passport back?
I think it was 4 weeks, maybe
About
even
4 weeks.
3.
Well, see,
Yeah, it was quick.
that's very fast. Yeah,
Yeah,
see, that's
it was quick.
faster than usual. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
it didn't take long.
so did the State Department write to you and say they needed something more, or they just issued passport?
They just issued them.
Yeah, that doesn't always happen, but it does sometimes.
Yeah, it was
So
very fast. What took the longest was our FOIAs.
right, and that definitely is longer. Now the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act request, is what happens is there's documents that are filled out, and they contain information from your current passport, and we ask them for copies of the passport record or the documents, the application, and other documents that are with them to be sent certified by the Secretary of the United States. And so the Secretary of the United States is a little busy, meddling in the affairs of foreign countries around the world. And so therefore, they have to schedule those times when passports are in front of them. Can you imagine how many FOIAs? I know how many FOIAs we do every year. I'll bet I'll bet we're doing 30 to 50 FOIAs every year. I mean, all the time, maybe more, but so at least those are coming across their desk, maybe half a dozen or more every single month, in addition to all the other things they sign. Um, so yeah, so that how long was that from when you made the FOIA request?
So we had mailed it off just before the Thanksgiving holiday, and
Mhm.
my husband received his before Christmas. And I did not get mine until February or March, and I had to harass them over it because it's like whoever runs it at the time was switched over, like
The new
the
Secretary of
new
State.
yeah, came in, and it's like it got set on their desk and then
Hmm.
it was buried, and they
Yep.
finally found it and ran it to ground and got it shipped off. So it
It's
did come,
amazing here
but
you did it together and yet they were separated in that regard. So
yep,
you're saying there was an administration change from that November, and then the new president came in. That I guess that would have been Trump in January. Is that what occurred?
yep, yep.
Yeah. Did you check the signatures on both to see if it's different people?
It's different people.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
One's
Now
Blinken
it's
and one's
Blinken, I think.
yeah. So
Who was
mine's
the?
Blinken and
I don't know who was before Blinken. Was it a female? I don't remember. I can't remember the Secretary of State. Anyway, um, whatever. But yeah, there's a different Secretary of State. Well, that's cool. So that's, believe it or not, that's actually quite quick, because we've seen sometimes they've gone a year even up to that, and there are some people that still haven't gotten theirs. We have to follow up and all that. And then there's another part. There's one in just in which they get the certified documents. There's times sometimes where the passport agency fails to keep the explanatory statement in the record. And whether they throw them away or what have you, it's hard to say, but that sometimes happens. And I have not found a remedy to correct that yet, because the State Department that does the FOIA, they're not able to add things to the record. And the State Department typically, the passport agency doesn't usually add documents after the fact. So it's challenging. So sometimes you might have to wait that 10 years to where you renew your passport, and you'll have an explanatory statement go in there, and then do another FOIA. So and again, we're working with clients on that. It's sometimes challenging. So, well, that's good. So you had a nice experience in that. So generally speaking, how was that? Was that as you thought it would happen? Did you think there would be some more difficult than that?
not after you had coached us
Hmm.
and said, well, don't make it a big deal. It's really a non-event, were
Hmm.
your words, and
Yeah.
So
That's
then
cool.
we kind of said, well, let's just make it a non-event, and it was. So it was
That's
very
cool.
pretty smooth.
Now, I can't say that you've had that same experience dealing with your state in these matters. Would you agree with that?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's
It's
been a little more challenging.
a little more of a challenge. It is. So, what happens with clients is that um, once they do the passport process, we talk about the paperwork that's dealt with respect to driver's license or state IDs, even um, now, in your situation, you had a business, and so there were certain licenses, and in your state, you have a sales tax. So there's all kinds of administrative connections with the state, and we have to work those things out. And that's some of the process you've been doing is moving your business from being in the public, which would be a corporation of some sort, into the private. So talk a little bit about that experience and how that's been for you and what that sentiment is like.
Sure. Well, that's been more of my concern with the entire process. Just because once I made that commitment, I was concerned, how do I navigate the waters with my business? But you helped me. You helped me to do the paperwork for our EIN number and dissolving the corporation,
Yeah,
which there's really just no reason for that.
yeah,
And yeah, it was once I could wrap my brain around what it meant, because we're very conditioned and trained that this is how business works.
right,
And you're told, accountants tell you, and business professionals or someone that guides you, they tell you this is how you do it, even though, like you would have a corporation. But that's not true, and it's just we've been conditioned. And
yeah,
so it's honestly been very freeing, and it's kind of like breaking chains and bonds, and it's been
yeah.
really liberating to let that go.
Yeah, it is a lifestyle change, and listen, all of the work we do for clients and that we want people to recognize is all this is administrative. Have you felt like you were taking a big, like you were revolting and you're doing resistance and all that? I mean, have you felt like that? That it's been that kind of energy for you, or is it different for you?
No, no, I don't feel that. I don't want it to feel that way.
Mm,
That's not my objective. I would like to just, you know, pretend they don't exist. So,
yeah,
so I just want to ignore that and disassociate from that. And, we have the right to associate or disassociate ourselves from those we don't want to be a part of things with anymore. And
yeah.
I think it's a fantastic path, and I wish more people would do it, because we wouldn't be as outnumbered. It used to
It's
be
true.
that way.
Yeah.
It used
And
to
it's
be that
true,
way.
but one of the reasons or the benefits of coming out of those systems is the more you're tied into government and doing the governmental type things, and corporations are governmental. There's no such thing as a private corporation. If you're incorporating into government in some capacity, now you're governmental. That's public. That means the government has to, there's a certain level of disclosure they have to have with respect to people that are coming into government, because government has obligations to disclose and not do things privately, if you will. It's got to be open for scrutiny. And so every business that comes in and becomes a corporation becomes governmental. And as you saw in the last pandemic, you saw that governments can shut companies and stores down, but the private sector has no obligation to serve the government. And now I'm not, and I think we've looked at some things in the state that you're in, but I think of states like I've looked at. I want to say that it's North Carolina, not South Carolina, but you see these states that want to give licenses to anything that moves, and that becomes very problematic. And so um, to stay out of those sometimes is pretty rigorous. Now, with respect to licensing, I want to mention that you don't have to necessarily come out of the licensing. If you do, that's great. But if you're going to be in a license, whether it's with a driver's license or some sort of a business license, then you're still going to do it in your personal capacity and not by way of a corporation. And if the statute allows them to license individuals or people, and again, we're always looking at that is who is the individual? Is it like in the tax code that the individual is a US federal citizen or a resident alien? Then we're not that individual. We want to make sure that if you're going to be in the licensing, you're not agreeing to being a federal citizen or a resident alien. And that's some of the scrutiny that we have to do when you're looking at the statutes and codes. And even though I may have done this in one state, it's not always as easy, or it's not the same in every state. And I think that's some of the difficulty that we had in dealing with your particular state. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, I think it's just new territory.
So, one of the things talking about tonight is attitude in this capacity. Um, Give a little background if you can, without disclosing who you are, and you don't necessarily have to deal with locations. Um, in your family in the past had dealt with IRS. Can you talk a little bit about those stories?
Sure.
Like, I don't know how long ago that was in your upbringing. How old were you
Yeah.
when your family was dealing with
Well,
that?
it was in the 80s, so
Oh, you
it's
were
been a
really
long.
young.
Yes, I was young, I was ignorant of it at the time. I didn't
Mm,
know anything about it until I was an adult,
okay.
and it was still going on at the time, and still a battle. And this case wound up over $1.2 million in penalties and interest, which
Mm,
is just absurd, over something very minor in the beginning.
yeah.
But it was a nightmare. It destroyed my father,
Mm,
and it's very close to home,
yeah.
and it makes you really resent
Yeah.
these powers that be,
Yeah.
and want you to get away from it as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably a lot of what drives me,
Mhm,
of what they've done to him.
yeah. And did and how is that today? He had served some time in that, didn't he?
No, a
No.
friend of his did.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to jail, but not my dad. No, my dad did not. Thank God.
Did he end up
Um,
having to pay those things, or was there a remedy to
well,
an
he lost
acceptance?
all his money trying to fight it with lawyers. So
Okay.
any money
Wow.
that he did have um, was absorbed by lawyer fees and
Right.
many, many, many years of his life.
Yeah.
And uh, he just is completely. I don't want to use the word destitute because that's very negative, but
Yeah.
he is not where financially he was planning
Could have
on,
been. Yeah. Sure.
yeah,
And
or
so
would have
so
been.
with that and that, your family, you have other siblings as well.
Yeah, yeah, I have sisters.
So doing this with us, how is your family um, experiencing that? Now you've been through the passport process. Um, how is that? What's the feedback you're getting from them with respect to these processes and all that? Are they waiting for the other shoe to fall, kind of a thing?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, they they support me in the bravery and
Hmm.
willingness to do something about what's going on today.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, that's the only thing. That's the only power you have. Really,
Hmm.
is your own journey. And
Yeah.
so anyway, but yeah, they support me. I think I'm a little nuts.
Yeah.
But I think that if they were, they have the same sentiments, but they would never walk this path.
Yeah. And I, on some level, not that you can point to anyone in particular, but I think the system's set up to do exactly that. Scare some people, keep most people. I mean, and when you think of it, is this the government that's of the people, by the people, and for the people? Is this a government that's serving its people, making sure, like it says in the Declaration of Independence, where it says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed? Is this a just government? And taxing, if you will, by the consent of the government. I mean, of the scent of the people, not. But no, this is most people. Like when I say to people when they move into these processes, and I've asked them, I say, well, I say this to people all the time. Is like what I'm making up about you is you've never been a federal citizen. You've been acting like one. You may be filling out paperwork like you're one, but no one's ever come along to you and said, like, hey, would you like to be a citizen of the District of Columbia, or do you want to be a citizen of your state, which is based in habitation domicile? I believe most people would say, no, I don't. If I don't have to pay that tax, I wouldn't. And so
Yeah.
that's what's exciting. And this is not about not paying taxes. This is about choosing a different type of citizenship, not the 14th Amendment citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Yep.
And so that's and I admire you for your courage in that way. And most of our clients are male. So to have someone like yourself, being in this space, I I find that's wonderful. You're you're really disciplined in your communication and your when I'm working with you, or you're like man, there's a moment, let go, she's like on to the next thing, and this is next, or what do you want to do? And it's like, man, it requires me to step up many times because it does give me support because you're on it, and that's a good thing because there's a lot of clients that are going on, and some clients are kind of laissez-faire and all, and you're really good administratively disciplined in that. So I appreciate that. But you are on your game. Is like, you know, she's there is another text, or
Push
there's
you a
another
little.
call. It's right. And so no, so that's good. It's a good thing. So I've really appreciated you being a part of that, um, and willing to do that. So what would you recommend? Or what would you say to somebody like someone that you may know, that you may even want to refer them to this, or let's say you're introducing somebody? What should somebody do with their head? How do you deal with fear or some of the angst or anxiety for you? Do how does it live for you in your life?
Well, I trust God. I think that He has a plan, and I think this is part of it. And I just say, okay, I'm walking it, and
That's cool.
I take it a step at a time, a day at a time, and I think that I'm doing what He wants me to do, and
Mm,
that's why I drove to see you
that's cool.
on Independence Day last year.
It was an Independence Day thing. What That was kind of cool.
It was.
I always looked at it like this is that this isn't a fight. It's just paperwork, and we're always striving to tell the truth and bring everything into the light. We're not trying to hide, sneak, or anything like that. And I even like the idea, this sounds weird, that I would say I agree with the IRS. They're telling you what
Yep.
it is, that who they're taxing and regulating, and people don't care to know.
Right.
Everyone still signs under penalty of perjury that it's true, correct, and complete to the best of their knowledge. I mean, these are ignorant people that are afraid. They don't know if it's true, correct, or complete. They couldn't testify, I know this is true, correct, and complete, because they don't know until the IRS
Right.
says it's okay.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest hurdles for, I would assume, most people is um, if you aren't already running your own business or aren't used to that kind of, making your way
Yeah.
versus, being employed. I think that's a hard shift for people
Mm,
because, your mindset really has to change,
mm,
and to be okay to not quote have a job or to be employed or have benefits or that kind of stuff, and that's hard for a lot of people, most people,
mm.
or collect your social security even,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that aren't really,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know. It's an individual choice, but I think that stops a lot of people because
Yeah.
they're not in a position currently.
So when you get older, are you expecting to collect your Social Security?
No.
No, that's great. That's the way
No.
I felt when I was glad. There was no loss for me in that, when, and that was back in the 90s, because when I stopped, as a business person, stopped paying in, I wasn't going to be paying in Social Security. And then again, the Social Security has no money. The federal government has no money. They're in massive debt. And so this is just paperwork. The kid at McDonald's is paying the other person who's on Social Security or whatever that is. It's and now we know more people are claiming this the benefit Social Security benefit than are paying in. It's gonna they're gonna have to fix it. But how do you buy votes if you don't fix it? Somehow it's going to
Right.
be out that way, and they always want more. And then it's astonishing that people will be taxed on their income, and Social Security is pulled out of there. And then when they get the Social Security, they're taxed again like it's income. Because the truth of the matter is,
Wow.
it's not it's not your money that you're saving. It's not what it ever is. Look up the Social Security Act. It was always a tax, and now you're on old age uh, welfare, or it's welfare. It's old age pension. It's not a pension plan. There's no asset that's growing because they're investing it. There's no such thing as that in Social Security. It's just welfare. And people think they want to have these memes out there to say, I earned it out. You were taxed and you're ignorant. That's the bottom line. And I, I don't have a lot of sympathy for people. And yet people have paid in. And so then now they feel like they deserve it because they don't make a provision for themselves in their lives when we have these times. And I believe that if anybody would give themselves seriously to 5 years, a lot easier for 10 or even 20 years, you should be able to, because of your ability, should be able to create something that's able to make you money. And it might not be with your government, or something, or even a corporation. Nowadays corporations don't keep people for 30 years with a nice pension. Some do. Most governments do. um, but that's wild. That's cool. That I love that your faith is what is empowering you, and the source of your supply in these kind of matters. I think that's really good. Um, I
Well, and
do.
I think
Yeah,
it's
go ahead.
important for my kids too that
Yeah, that's
they
cool. Talk about
understand
that, of
what
how
this
they
is.
do. And what are the ages of your children?
16 and 10.
Yeah. So how much not so much your 10-year-old, but how much, like your 16-year-old, are they aware of what you're doing and that it's different from other people? Are they in those
Oh,
conversations at all?
he is very aware. I think he's struggling and trying to just grasp and understand it, but he
Hmm.
is aware. Of course, everything we do is so different than the most normal people.
Yeah.
So, I think he's at least accustomed to that. And
Yeah.
but we have talked about it, and I plan on him taking your class once your
Mm.
website's back up, and
Yeah.
and he needs to dive into it, and he'll have to decide that for himself
That's cool.
when he's
Yeah.
old enough.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And to prepare kids at that early age of 16 that to establish their own business or work is, I think, an important thing. Or unless they're going to be a part of your business and move into that space that has been created that will make money for you independent of your time. I'm always encouraging clients to move yourself from your time making money to setting something up that makes you money independent of your time. That's an important wealth building concept. And uh, and again, you get to work that out with your kids. And then the other thing is, you do your best to bring your kids into concepts of liberty and freedom and wanting things and responsibility and all that. When they're 18, that's the end of it. You can be
Yeah.
an influence and you want them to do these things, and you should always, but they get to make up their own mind. And I think it isn't until you're really paying that stuff out that you're realizing, wow, I'm spending 25%, maybe 30% of my year working for the central bankers that are giving me nothing.
Yep.
That's a hard place. That's cool.
I will say though, I listened to a lot of your phone calls at the beginning before we just made the decision to come up to see you, and I don't remember. Maybe they were on YouTube.
Mm,
But I chatted a lot and
yeah.
messaged and
Yeah.
interrupted you a lot
It's all good.
for a long time before we decided, okay, oh, he's having a live class. I
Yeah.
think we should drive up there, and because if we're serious, we're just sitting here spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's either do it or turn them off. And
It's a
that
good
was
word.
kind of my attitude.
That's
And
great.
we decided to jump in.
And
All
how's
right,
that
so
been for, how's that been for your marriage and all that? Because now your husband's on board.
oh
Are
yeah,
you, is he very supportive, or are you kind of support each other? Are you in the same place, or is there friction in your
absolutely.
marriage? Because that sometimes is there.
No, not from this. No.
Mm. that's, that's honest. That's right. We have friction, but it's just
No.
like, that's right.
Yeah, we have a very blessed marriage. We're very blessed.
That's cool.
No, he 110% supports me in this idea, and he's been on board from day one. And if he wasn't, I think it would be a whole different story. I think it
Sure.
would be a whole different scenario.
No, and we're concerned about those things, and we want people to not pressure their spouse and all. We want to help and support. This should not be a thing of fear and angst and stuff. And sometimes people already have that fear and angst. I have clients that have been fighting the IRS over the years, and then and they've tried a bunch of things that haven't worked. Then all of a sudden they come into our space, and for the spouse or for others, it seems like just another thing, and you're having to undo error and mistakes and stuff. It's sometimes extremely difficult to untangle what people have done and tried over the years. I just wanted to, um, do you think some of the questions that are on here are good for our guest, or questions that she might answer? Are there questions about her experience, um, or would it? Just want to see if. Hang on, let me see. It's about the passport project. So, would you mind just hang on? Let me see if I can answer some of these things. Um,
Nice.
let me see. So, I'm going to give them an order here. It says, so Lee says, um, when you do the passport process, do you have to surrender the current passport? What happens if I need to travel abroad? Would I have to wait until my new passport arrives? That's a great question. And yes, you're gonna turn in your old passport, and they're gonna issue you a new one. So if you're gonna travel, you might get your traveling done. You want to give yourself a lot of leeway. Typically, the the passport process is 4 to 6 weeks if you expedite it. If you have travel dates and they're far enough out, you can still put the travel dates down. But some of these things, the State Department wants to ask questions and all, and so they can. Um, uh, those questions have to be answered, and the paperwork has to be done. So we don't recommend people have that as a pressure. And if you want to get your passport quickly, you can actually go to a passport agency. But we need to give you a lot of support, because you'll be looking at these people and giving them your paperwork and holding your ground. And we've have a lot of experience in that. But you have to be able to hold your own and not fall apart and things like that. Um, and then, John mentions all semantics, all corporations are federal. That is not true. But if you have a tax ID number, then all corporations that have a federal tax ID number are federal. If for any reason you had a corporation that was just in your state, then it would be a state, not federal. Um, but most corporations have tax ID numbers, a TIN or an EIN, things like that. Um, but that's certainly not semantics in those different jurisdictions. Permission to drive, permission to leave, that's good sentiment. Does this process help with property taxes? Um, um, Ultimately, it is a beginning place, because if you're a federal citizen subject to the jurisdiction thereof, you yourself are not free. And so if you have an interest of freeing your property before you're free, that would be the cart before the horse. So we would recommend that. So it helps in that regard, but it's not, that's a different jurisdiction in that regard. And then, um, and so Lee doesn't know Carol, and so he's giving Carol some advice here. Thanks, Lee. So anyway, it says you need to get a allodial property title, avoid taxes. I don't know how to get, maybe Christian. Yeah, a allodial title is one part. It's the paperwork part, and a allodial title is really out. Allodial title just means unalienable, but that's out west. They do that with the Bureau of Land Management. In the east, they are charters. Originally, they were with the king, so they're similar, but they're not identical. And then there's the human part, and then there's three different jurisdictions. Of course, the federal, when it's a United States real property interest in your real estate transaction, that's the federal. The state issues title, so you have to deal with the state, you have to deal with the county, and you have to deal with the town, and all those are different jurisdictions, and they're all jockeying for money from your property. So all those have to be addressed, not only paperwork wise, but people wise, because people are implementing these controls. And so you have to deal with your budding properties, because what you do on your property affects others. If somebody was doing something on your neighboring property and it was going to affect the value, or somehow, uh, let me give you an example. If you're out west and you're securing a portion of a land patent, your neighbors are probably on that same land patent, but you're only making claim to a certain part of meets and bounds, and so that's going to be different. So anyway, um, we'll get back to our topic here. We'll do a topic sometime and deal with land patents and allodial titles and things like that. That'll be a fun show. I think there's a lot of interest in that. So getting back to our guest here, um, is there anything else that you might say to somebody? Maybe you have a friend or someone who's considering it and they're really concerned or nervous about the process. Is there something um, that you could suggest to them, or what you
No, I
recommend?
mean, fear is false evidence appearing real,
Mm,
and you just have to, if this is really something that your heart says that you should be doing,
mm,
then I encourage you to follow through with it. Life is so full of what ifs and I should have's,
mm.
and you should. If this is calling you, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And rip the band-aid and do it.
That's good. That's a good word. And you're into your second year, and that's not a big deal. And then after every year goes by, and the thing is that what and you've dealt with some things, and they'll come, and they may come back every year to address, and it's very similar. That may happen. And then something else will come along. Maybe you'll be invited to go to jury duty, and there'll be paperwork, and they'll be asking that question: Are you a U.S. citizen? And we'll be doing it very much the same way all the time. How do they define that term, United States? And again, in that situation, like jury, we want you to be on a jury. We don't want people to avoid that, because people that are in these cases need good, freedom minded people to be judging the case and the law. So it isn't that we quickly want to say no, but in my state, they define United States citizen with respect to jury selection by the 14th Amendment. So it disqualified me. That's something that has to be resolved by the legislature in my state. And that's been a while. And so I want to be in the jury pool. I want to sit in on juries. It's my duty, but the state has to deal with these two type of citizens in the United States. And I find it's my job to remedy that in my state. I don't put that on anybody else. It's my job. Of course, this is part of my joy, but I would hope that if that comes along your pathway, that you would feel compelled to also do that work, because it helps other people as well, and certainly people that are dealing with things in this category. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
Mm,
definitely.
that's cool. Um, do you have any questions for me, or anything with respect to these processes? Any
I
any
don't. I've
angst that
I've
you have?
done them. I'm ready. I could probably help you somehow. I
Well,
don't
I,
know.
I have I have that sense that we will do some exploits together. Um, I think your insight is great, and I think your attitude is great. So for me, it's definitely worth having you be on board, and finding a place that would serve you as well as serve our clients. I think is going to be awesome. So I look forward to that and developing that works good for you, and good for us too. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a natural fit. So that's cool. And I'm looking forward to us when we travel south. We're going to have to make our way uh, uh, towards your state so we can come through and do some dinner. That'll be fun.
Yes,
So.
absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on tonight. What I'm going to cover, I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk some more. While you're still on, because I think this is relevant, I'll just mention that our website is down right now because we're in between uh, pathways. We were going towards a certain direction, and we were moving in. I think the basis of the new website was going to be Wix, and now we decided this afternoon that we're going to go back to WordPress, and this company that's working for us is going to actually um, make it beautiful on WordPress. So we're going back where it's already set up and working, and they're just going to do what I thought they were going to do, which was to make it look beautiful. So we're going to see some changes. Maybe there'll be similarities. Um, so we'll do some of that, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to navigate. It's certainly all the elements are there, so I think our clients are going to find it much easier to get to where they have to go. So that'll be cool. So that should show up in the next 24 hours or less. So
Cool.
so that'll
Yeah,
be
I'm
cool.
looking
So
forward to that. I want to get my teenager watching.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, you'll be able to get it right into that class.
Cool.
I appreciate that. And if you don't, so I would recommend. I think you can go through your pathway once we get you there, and I think you're actually that pathway is already there on the new site. So when you see the new site show up, you should be able to just log in and just go into that. And if you can't, then just let me know. I think it'll be easy fit. So,
Cool.
all righty.
Cool.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodnight and let you go, and then I'll
Good
get
night.
into answering some more questions with some of these folks. But thank you so much for being on. It means everything to me. I appreciate your support and your commitment to your freedom and really our community. So that's been awesome. Thank you so
Thanks for having me
much.
on. I hope I've been helpful for somebody.
It's been great. It's great for us, but yeah, I hope so too. I think we're going to get some feedback on that. We'll watch the website and we'll keep track of people's sentiment. That'll be great.
Cool. All right. Bye,
Okay.
Christopher.
All right. Take care. All right, that was wonderful. It's um, one of our favorite clients. That's cool. So we have some questions. Do we get? Um, okay, so let's go back. It says, let me just make sure that I don't miss them. Um, let's see. Yeah. So Chuck says, how do you find out if Idaho will let me get Lodial title, and how to do research in my state? Well, it isn't Idaho that's giving you Lodial title, so that's not the. Um, what we recommend is what you'll reach out to is um, you want to reach out to the Bureau of Land Management. That's federal, and they have the land patents. So you need to find out which land patent. If you gave your physical address for where you are in Idaho, and ask the Bureau of Land Management to give you a certified copy of um, the original land patent for your property, you'll find uh, that that land patent. Idaho doesn't issue a Lodial title. Lodial means unalienable. The only title Idaho has is they have your title deed, in which they're claiming being owner, and you're a what they call a tenant on the land. And so that's how that is. And so again, it's not that I'm going to handle on tonight's call, but that's who's going to Lodial title. There's no title that you get that's now called Lodial. It's just a kind of title meaning unalienable. And you might get yourself a Black's sixth edition, uh, Black's Law Dictionary, and look up some of these terms. It'll probably help you a lot. It'll be a blessing for you. Sixth or fourth edition. Sixth is very good. And then Carol says, for young people who have not filed tax return, do you recommend they go through this process? Well, they don't have to do a lot of process. What I recommend is, did you put that up for Carol? That question for Carol about the young people. What I recommend is them not come into the federal zone. So you want to make sure your children aren't saying that they're 14th Amendment citizens. Don't, you're probably too late for don't getting them a social security number, but don't let them start filing. Stay out of the federal zones. Don't even start. And here's another thing. Don't prepare your children for jobs with corporations. They're just going to be slaves to the central government, you know. So prepare your kids to open their own business and be a business owner from the start. That's what you do for your children. They'll never work a day because it'll be their joy. So help your children by the time they come of age to where they're ready to work. Get them into a business of any sort, a service industry. Look, remember the old days of lawn care service? Let them work towards their first mower. Let them really care about what they're bringing to the table. There's always lawns to mow, and if you're better than everybody else, you'll get plenty of work. If your standards are high in anything, you'll make money regardless of what field it's in. So do that, and then just keep them out of the federal zone. Then down Lee's got another question that says, "What is first? Passport process. Fill the forms to avoid income taxes at work." Yeah, if you have a job, a lot of times what happens is people will do the passport process first. It's much easier to deal with your business saying, I did this process and I changed it. I can't be employed anymore. I have to contract. If the company is worth if you think the company is really worth working for or serving, then you can contract with them. If you're important enough to the company, then they'll be up for contracting. Because listen, companies all the time will change their relationship, just like the UPS drivers. They were all employees, and then the next minute they're all contractors. Companies do that all the time, and your company can do it too. Doesn't have to do it with all the employees, but if you're important enough, then begin to contract. That way you're in charge of your own taxes, if any. Then they stop withholding social, they stop withholding all of that. So what we say is that no one's going to do these processes while being employed. You will be unemployable. The beauty of that is you're never laid off, and you don't have to play all that stuff. Do that right away so that you can build your own investments and your own future, and you don't have to wait or trust your government to do you. Um, and is that our last question on there? I think that's good. Well, thank you so much for being on tonight. I really appreciate our guest. I want to mention her name, but I'm not. And but she knows who she is. I'm grateful. If you have questions about for her, I'll be glad to get those questions to her. And maybe I don't know if it's even possible. If she has a YouTube channel, she'll be able to respond, or we'll get you the information. Or if you want to become a client, you might end up getting to know her yourself, and that'll be a joy too. So all that's available. Our website is down right now. It's under construction. It will be back up probably within 24 hours or so. So be patient, and it'll look a little different, but we're going to be updating all that. It's going to be some amazing changes on there, but it will always be working. That'll be a great thing. And yeah, so I've been grateful for this. I think what we'll do is we'll look into having a conversation. I may have a guest next week. I'll have to see if that's going to work out. I'll have to look at the dates and what's going on. There's some events coming up at the beginning of this next month. So, but if we do, I'll work to have our next talk be about land patent, low deal title, and some of that stuff. We'll put that out there and see what people think. That's a work that's still in progress, and we'll deal with that. Both Texas and Florida are both pushing back on those property taxes. People are looking for property tax relief, and one of the big elephants in the room is the stupid government schools tied into property taxes. What a great thing for them to do. What a cash cow for schools, for the communist schools in America. What a piece of crap. Anyway, that's awesome. Anyways, so yeah, we want to get rid of property tax, so we just cut off that. People don't mind paying for their local stuff, but to keep paying in again and again out of property that belongs to them, that's obscene, it's immoral, and it's foul, and we're going to do something about it. Hope you can be a part of us when we do. All right, talk to you soon. Have a great night. I'm Christopher, and this is Destination Freedom.